There's more than one version of you possible. But when you're living life on autopilot, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like you're stuck, like you're a victim of your circumstances. And the life you really want, it feels far away, impossible, even foolish to dream about. So instead of changing, we stay busy explaining to ourselves why change could never happen. But here's the truth. Most of us spend more energy convincing ourselves it's too late than it would take to actually begin. We look at vision boards, at other people's dream lives. We hope to feel inspired, and sometimes that works. But if it has not moved you closer to the life you actually long for, then maybe it's time for a different vision. Not the dream life, but the one you're actually creating by repeating the same habits, routines, thoughts, and reactions day after day. So ask yourself this: if nothing changes, if you stay in that job that drains you, the habits that hurt you, the relationships that hollow you out, where will you be in 5 years or even in 10? Because that future is being built right now. To me, this was actually more effective than anything else back when I was living a completely different life 3 years ago. Stuck in old habits, limiting beliefs, survival mode, feeling sorry for myself, victim mentality, and constantly justifying my own triggers. All of it felt so safe and familiar that I didn't even consider the possibility that I was going to have to take radical responsibility for my life if I wanted a change of some kind. You see, I was a victim. I was a victim of chronic illness, a victim of poverty, a victim of a crumbling house, and a victim of that very house being taken by social services who at the time felt like they were running my entire life. So I fought hard to hold on to a broken down reality. I fought with social services to keep my house. I fought against my body, which also felt like it was falling apart. And I fought so hard to hold on to this perceived safety that felt like it was all being taken from me. My house, my income, and my familiar life. So I spent many hours on this very platform searching for hope, deep down in manifestation law of attraction, looking for the quickest and easiest way to manifest the life of my dreams. So divine intervention eventually slapped me in the face with this uncomfortable truth, looking at some video that told me that you can't create the life of your dreams with the exact same victim mentality that created the one that you're currently living. Ouch. That really shook me, and I started to imagine my life continuing on at the exact same with the exact same trajectory it was on right then and there. And that scared the living daylight out of me, imagining my life continuing on this, the same way that it was going. So that really pushed me down this rabbit hole where I discovered that I had been letting my entire life be run by this default mode that was wired for one thing only, and that is survival. See, body and mind are wired for keeping us alive, but not happy and not enjoying life, not feeling like life is this dream we want it to be, or this enjoyable adventure that it can be. So suddenly I understood that I couldn't create a new life from that old survival mode that had been running the show up until now. But it didn't start with these dramatic changes. Getting out of survival mode requires pattern interruption. Pattern interruption is simply new behaviors that gently disrupt the old script. And to me, this started with meditation. So, in the middle of the most chaotic and stressful time of my life, I created just a few quiet minutes each day. And in that stillness, both my body and mind got a well deserved break from the war I felt I was fighting. And that small space I carved out, it really allowed me to see that I had pouring all of my energy into fighting my circumstances instead of creating new ones. You see, we have to challenge our old programming if we want to create a new future, but we also have to recognize that these patterns may have once served us. Started realizing what was no longer aligned and what was no longer serving me. I also realized something powerful, that I was the one in control, and with that came the ability to change. So eventually I surrendered, said goodbye to the victim mentality, goodbye to social services, which is really one of the best decisions I've made in my life. And I said goodbye to the house that I've been living in for almost 12 years, and that honestly felt like my only safe space in this world. But that also made me realize that I was my own safe space. And it made me realize that I couldn't bring all of my old baggage into the future that I was trying to create. And somewhere in the middle of it all, something new began to grow. A new version of me began to evolve. And you see, this version of me wasn't bedridden from chronic illness. She didn't need morphine or marijuana to manage pain or being able to sleep. And she didn't sit at home feeling sorry for herself. This version took aligned action and decided to become the master of destiny instead of a victim of history. You see, we're wired to survive, not to thrive. So we'll always choose what feels safest. But here's the catch: what feels safe isn't always what's good for us. Oftentimes, safe actually just means that it's familiar. So that's why we stay in the pain that we know, in a victim mindset, in a body that hurts, in a broken home, in a broken relationship, or with a heart that keeps breaking. Not because it's right, but it's because what we have learned to live with. So if you're in that place right now, looping in old behaviors that you know don't align with the future that you want to create, just know that you have the power to create a pattern interference, and that you have the power to create the life that you truly want. But you have to own it, and you have to tap into your why. And you take aligned action towards that future, and that is within your control. But it doesn't have to be something big. You see, transformation often starts with something simple, and thinking that it has to be these massive acts and massive changes actually just keeps us stuck and paralyzed doing nothing instead. Will there be resistance? Yes. Will it be challenging? Yes. But will you be able to work through that? Yes, of course. Without even knowing it, most of us live our entire lives by default and not by design, repeating the same patterns, feeling the same stress. But the truth is that every single day is a new chance to choose differently, and patterns do break the moment you decide to wake up. So remember, there is a version of you already living the life you dream of, just waiting for you to catch up.